Hello YouTube, this is part 2 of my Wiston Tunnel Adventure down around Galena, Illinois. And right now I'm standing on the old railroad that went back to the tunnel. And you can still see some evidence here from the railroad that went through this way. Like you can see some of the old rocks here from the railroad as well. Yeah, I mean down there some of the old rocks that these rocks you normally see on railroads. So it's a piece of history right there. You still see them. And there's still some railroad ties that are in the trail here. I mean on the old grade here. Just try to find some here. You see this part is raised up, so this is the old railroad grade here. And there are some spots where it's kind of raised up, so those are probably some old railroad ties. And speaking of which, here's a piece of one right now, right there. Yep, and this is an old railroad tie here, which is pretty cool to see if you're hiking along in here. And the tunnel is still a little bit of a ways back in there yet, but we'll get to it. Just gotta keep walking along back in here and see the old tunnel soon. I mean, in the part 1, I show you some foundations and relics back, back there, and I show you that old house. In the part 1, I mean, reason why it's part 1 and part 2, because I don't want to make too terribly long of a video here. And speaking of which, there's another old railroad tie here. That was from the old railroad. And there's some old rocks these rocks are normally on the railroad, but you see these are still here, which is really cool. So you can obviously tell that this was a railroad at one time. I mean, you see it's raised up here, and you're finding old railroad ties in the ground here, plus even some dips of where the old railroad ties were. And cool. An old piece of metal here. It's probably from the old train engine or whatever. I have no idea what this thing is, but it's probably an old steam pipe from a train or whatever. It's cool that that's still there. Yeah, I mean you can see some dips that are, I don't know if you can really see them, but you can kind of see some dips down in here from where the old railroad ties were. And you can even see some still in the ground there. There's one there, one there. There's one right there, obviously sticking out. I know when I was first walking along here, I kept tripping over these railroad ties, and I'm like, what am I tripping over? And it turns out there's these old railroad ties I was tripping over the entire time. And there's even another one there too. And there's one way stuck in the woods over there. I don't know if you can see it through the weeds or whatever, but there's an old railroad tie over there too. Yeah, I mean, it's extremely quiet out here. And there's another railroad tie. And there's one here too. Okay, one over there. Okay, I probably won't be filming any more railroad ties. There's one there. And, it's just some old pieces of the railroad that I wanted to show you. And you can see there is a deep drop off here. because, you know, with this being the railroad, and there's a drop off over there too. But as you can see, we are up on ground level here, and sorry, I can't stop filming these railroad ties. I just think it's cool that they're still here. But yeah, and there's one right there. What do you know? Yep. I mean, these are just relics from the past here that I think this tunnel operated from like the 1800s, maybe somewhere around in there. I still gotta look up really the actual history of the tunnel here. Okay, and I think up ahead the tunnel is up here. I mean, you kind of come up to this, I don't know if it's really an abyss too much or whatever, but I don't know, it just seems like an abyss from far away or whatever. You see where you see the tunnel. And if you stand right in front of it, it's like really cool or something. Really cool in front. I just mean it's just so like air conditioning. It's like a big air conditioner blowing cold air out at you because it's so cold in that tunnel. Okay. I think I could kind of see the abyss coming up ahead in the trail. I don't know if that's really so much of an abyss or whatever, but I don't know. But we're still on the old railroad going to the tunnel. And there's a tree branch over there that's up ahead that I gotta climb over. Just think, a train used to be coming back here, and it would, you know, or the train would be going from here or whatever to deposit the lead or whatever that they mined or whatever. And this is basically for how this tunnel, I think, came to be. I mean, kind of way up ahead now. I don't know, it kind of looks like a little abyss or whatever. But I just know we're getting closer to the tunnel here. Climb over these fallen branches here. But we're coming close to the tunnel. I could just see it in the distance. I mean, this is an old railroad tunnel. And once again, it's gated off because they don't want people going back in there. I mean, they have this ugly gate on top of it, so we won't be able to get in there. And actually, it looks like an abyss from far away. As you can see, we're getting closer. I know I said that how many times, but I mean, if you see an abyss in the trail, then that's the tunnel. A black hole. And you see there's a creek that kind of runs along here. It's kind of old mine drainage, I think, that's coming out of the tunnel maybe. But it gets kind of damp and everything kind of towards the tunnel. So I don't know, I might have to get on some dry land or whatever with it. But anyway, the tunnel is right up ahead here. And we're still on the old railroad grade. As you can see, it's now dipped down, it's not raised up. But as you can see, the tunnel is way back in there. I'll zoom in on it here. There she is. Okay. You're not seeing too many railroad ties around in here, really. Too much. I mean, this is still the railroad grade. But there's the tunnel. And there's an old retaining wall over there too. This is where it kind of gets kind of swampy over here too, but here's an old retaining wall here. And that retaining wall goes all the way back to the tunnel. And there's some old stuff back in here too. I don't know what this is. There's an old concrete thing in here too. Yep, you see right here. There's an old barrel over there. And there's another sort of thing back in here. It's an old steel cover or pipe or whatever. And there's still some old railroad ties that are down around in here somewhere. Right now it actually feels pretty good and air conditioned right now because we're coming up close to the tunnel here. And it is pretty damp and wet, so you got to be careful when you get close to the tunnel because it is very wet and very damp, and you could see, you know, the other footprints of people who were here too. Whoa. Oh, there's a little toady in there. Little toady. Or it's a frog, I don't know what it is. Frog, toad, whatever. You name it. I don't judge. And there's some old bricks here too. And there's an old thing of concrete over there too. I mean, I don't know what some of the stuff here was used for, but this is the retaining wall here, and it'll probably get on these old bricks here to... So it's going to be a long walk back here from the... But you gotta be careful kind of walking. I mean, I highly doubt this is quicksand that I'm walking over. I think it's just sandy dune or whatever. And I think some of the stuff that's coming out of the tunnel, I think it's old mine drainage. I'm not sure, really. But this was the railroad going into the tunnel here. And right where you approach the tunnel, as you can see, it's just a big pond there. Okay, I think this is as far as to the tunnel I could get. And you can see, you can hear echoing in the tunnel. So there you have it. This is the Winston Tunnel. Beautiful brickwork around here. I think once I actually tried to climb to the top here and go over the tunnel maybe, but didn't really have much success with that. Ugh, man. Shoes are awful muddy. I'm just glad these are not my work shoes. Okay. I think this is as close to the tunnel as I can get, and it feels pretty cool here. I just mean, obviously, it's cold breeze. It's really cold coming out. I'll zoom in. Yep. It's like what I say, we got this big ugly gate over it. Because I think you can get lost in this tunnel by going in there. And there's a lot of water that's coming out of here. Out of there. And I think it's old mine drainage or something. I'm not really so sure. Echo! Heh! Yeah, I don't know if you can hear my echoes in there. But this has been my tour of the Wiston Tunnel Adventure. It's going to be a really long walk back from this tunnel here. And show you some of the old history here. Ooh. Wonder what that is. Anyway, there's a lot of history here to this place. You know, if you want to, come check it out yourself. You know, this has been part 2 of my Wiston Tunnel Adventure. So see you later.